Welcome to the WACO Experience, an American story.
We, the people.
With your host, D. Scott Smith.
In order to form a more perfect union.
Interviews with leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations.
Promote the general welfare.
Jobs, products and services, and infrastructure for strong communities. Secure
the blessings of liberty.
The WACO Experience is an American story, a story of communities across America. It is your story.
WACO has this strapline of a city to believe in. My hope and my vision is that, as a city, we really buy into that for the whole of WACO. Supporting the COVE is one way of doing that, and I would love people to do that.
Today's guest on the WACO Experience, an American Story, is Dr. Timothy Packer, Executive Director at the COVE here in Waco. Dr. Packer was a guest on this show in episode 23, where we learned about his background, arrival in Texas, and joining the COVE in 2021. We also learned about the services provided by this local nonprofit. Today we get an update on how the staff and volunteers are delivering on their mission and details about an exciting gala dinner coming this fall. The COVE provides necessary services for youth in our community who are experiencing homelessness. They are now celebrating 10 years of service. I encourage you to learn more about this organization, how to purchase tickets for the gala, make a donation, or learn about volunteer opportunities on their website, thecovewaco.com. I'm your host, D. Scott Smith. Each week I bring you stories from leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations. You can learn more about this program, our sponsors, and the podcast version of this show by going to our website, thewacoexperience.com. This program is made possible by sponsors like Emma Gaskin, owner of Republic Laser Therapy. Taking time for physical exercise is important, and there are stresses and strains of such activity. I had pain in my shoulder and got scheduled for treatment at Republic Laser Therapy. I went into the office with pain and left with no pain and improved mobility. Call today at 254-433-7790 and on the web, republiclasertherapy.com. Quality cabinets. Your home is an extension of your personality. Smooth, clean, and elegant. Quality Cabinets is the perfect choice for the modern aesthetic. Visit the Design Center at 720 New Dallas Highway in Waco. Quality Cabinets, modern design, everyday comfort. Call 254-744-0938 and visit the website qualitycabinetstx.com. Christian Family Law Solutions is a Christian-based, solutions-focused mediation provider. They help their clients avoid costly litigation and remain focused on the most important priorities in their lives, creating paths for peaceful resolution, not brokenness. Call 254-777-5171 and on the web, 1c6.law. PresentGifting.com. Imagine never forgetting an event for those important people in your life, because relationships are important and moments matter. Present Gifting is a free service to send you gentle reminders of birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, and more. Register today at PresentGifting.com. Heart of Texas TV Indoor Billboards. My friend J.B. James Bell, former helicopter pilot for the U.S. Army, and his team at Hot TV amplify your brand where it matters most. Be seen where your customers eat, work, shop, and play. Learn more on the web, hotdigitaltv.com. Ray's Automotive Specialist. My car is my baby. When it needs service, I call Ray. Certified technicians, Christian values. Domestic or import, Ray has you covered. Call 254-495-7810 and on the web at fixmycarray.com. D. Scott here. I am at the COVE. It's right here on Waco Drive, and talking with Dr. Tim Packer, and had a great conversation back in episode 23. So I encourage people to go back and listen to that. We talk a lot about the background of Dr. Packer and in the COVE, but today we're going to get some updates, and we're going to talk about how people can get involved. Dr. Tim Packer, welcome to the Waco Experience.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. It's an honor to be here.
Let's get a summary of what the COVE is and get the website.
Sure. I'll do website first because that's the easy one. thecovewaco.org. And we also have Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, so go hit those up as well. The COVE, we work with high school age students, so that's generally 14 to 18-year-olds who are experiencing homelessness. We provide 3 core services. We're an after-school program. We're outreach, case management, so onto the school campuses, out into the community. And we're a drop-in, so youth can show up and access shower, laundry, food, hygiene items. And that is all kind of gathered around young people having safe, stable housing. And why do we do that? We do that because that's a key part of having a real successful childhood, but also a successful transition into adulthood.
And let's talk about the need. What's the need for this here in Waco?
Yeah, so the need is higher than most people would expect. Last year, so 2025, we served just over 200 young people, predominantly from Waco ISD, but also La Vega School District, Connolly School District, Midway. And we've actually served, over the 10 years of the COVE, we've served students from 12 school districts in our surrounding area and almost 700 young people. And just to kind of put that into proportion, in Texas, and actually nationally, it's about 2% of the school population each year that are found to be homeless under it's called the McKinney-Vento Act definition of homelessness.
So can you give us a little definition of what that means? Because we picture the guy on the bench or something.
Sure, and that's a really common picture that people have. And when we talk about homelessness, we talk about those more extreme experiences, the unsheltered homelessness. So often people will think West Coast of California, they'll think Austin, and they'll think of people living in tents on the street, often experiencing very severe mental ill health, addiction issues, and predominantly older as well. So when we look at kind of homelessness over the last couple of decades, there is a pattern of like older alcoholic on the street coming down to more younger drug user experiencing mental ill health. And some of our young people are in those extreme circumstances. And like I said, unsheltered homelessness is often how we would call it. But homelessness actually also encompasses unstable housing or inappropriate housing. And so that could be a young person who has no stable place to stay, so moving frequently from place to place. It could also be a young person that's living in severely overcrowded, so more than one family living in accommodation, usually for economic reasons. And the definition of homelessness particularly focuses on you have to live with other people because you cannot afford to have your own home. The language there is often doubled up. That moving around is often couch surfing, we would call it. Have to translate sometimes. In the UK, we would call it sofa surfing, but here it's couch surfing. But it also includes people who are unsheltered or have no safe place to go because they're fleeing domestic violence or other forms of harassment or violence. And so what we end up is getting this quite broad definition that is focused around young people lacking regular, appropriate, or adequate housing. And why is it? Does it have that breadth? Because all of those circumstances can interrupt people's normal thriving and normal development. And we see that in young people's ability to attend school, access to basic needs, access to private space to get changed in because there's too many people in the house, not having a bed, and all of these broad range of things. We were talking about just like how extensive that is. Our biggest school district locally is Waco ISD, and I mentioned like statewide and nationally it's about 2%. In Waco ISD, year on year it changes, but it's sitting around that 6% of the school population.
That's surprising and startling that it's that high of a number in the community. And again, this is one of those things that is unseen. Yeah. And so I'm glad that we're able to bring some spotlight on that.
And I think, people often ask me like, why is it that high? And, there's lots of reasons potentially leading to that. I think the biggest reason that applies to Waco particularly is we also see in Waco a much higher poverty rate than the rest of Texas or our comparator cities. So Prosper Waco in 2024 published this Waco snapshot just with demographic data and economic data. And that shows that Waco's poverty rate is close to double the state average. So almost 1 in 4 people are below the poverty threshold.
So we often refer to the Waco Prosper Waco snapshot, that when you look at overall economic growth and incomes and so forth, everything looks very good. But when you disaggregate it down to different neighborhoods, different populations, we find that it is not equally distributed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, and that's, you see that in lots of other places as well. I saw that in Edinburgh when I was working around the school districts. Overall Edinburgh was prospering and school performance data was prospering, but when you looked at the lowest 20% in terms of performance, they were actually getting into more trouble. Their performance was, so overall it was growing, but the lowest part were getting worse.
So we talked about a drop-in service. So we talked about, you have a drop-in service, you have outreach. Some of the services that you have are like laundry facilities, food tutoring, some things just to kind of keep things going. But let's talk about how people can help and support the organization, because you are a nonprofit.
Yeah, we are.
You live off donations, grants, these types of things. How do people get involved, and how can people support the COVE?
Sure. I guess one thing just to say, before I get into that is, we have certain outcomes that we want to achieve with our young people, and I maybe touched on this on the previous episode, but I think it's worth.
That's good. I'm glad that
it's worth repeating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is, and I want to say this now because I think this is what connects people to the mission. It's not just we are helping young people in need. That's, important and core, but it's how we help young people in need and what are we trying to do with these young people that's actually going to meaningfully make a difference for them. And so we have three outcomes. The shorthand is stability, hope, and connection. So we talk about having housing and developmental stability, which we're just talking about in the definition of homelessness. Young people, regardless of their circumstances, teenagers, they need a safe, stable rhythm in their life. Everything that we know from research about human development is stability is core. To reinforce good habits, to break down bad habits, all of those kind of things. The second outcome, hope, particularly this is about hope in education and employment. We want our young people to have the skills, the experiences, the tools that they need to successfully complete their high school education and then go on to the next positive thing. Whether that's TSDC or McLennan Community College or a 4-year college program or straight into the workforce, whatever it is, we want them to have those tools, but also have the vision and be able to lift their heads and see, actually, there is a future here for me. And then connection, this is about meaningful relational connections. Human relationship is core to our being well. And, some people need more of that and some people need less of that. And that's, there's variation there, but centrally we all know that our young people need trusted, safe adults who love them and care for them and have their best interests in heart. And part of that connection is also helping our young people connect back into their communities. So we want them to have strong families, strong peer relationships. We want them to be able to advocate for themselves at school and in their community. And also sometimes we've taken youth down to Austin as part of the legislative session to connect to that wider story of what's happening in their community. So stability, hope, and connection. Those are the big three things. And so, yes, basic needs, but also we have tutoring. They can get school attendance credits for being here. We help them with job interview preparation, and we help them learn about how to tackle their negative emotions and all of these kind of things, and really seeing this young person as a person and not the problems that they've experienced, and believing that they can have a good future. Sorry, that was quite a long answer for the question. And so,
well, that's great, because the outcomes, that's a big part of it. I mean, supplying an immediate need is necessary, but providing for a long-term, as you say, for a hope that there is an opportunity, and that'll help guide the actions that they do today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's worth doing your homework. It's worth trying to get that grade point up a little bit. It's worth going and speaking to that teacher who you don't get on with, and just learning how you can find a good way forward. And one of the things we do, so our frontline staff, we don't call them case managers, even though they're doing the work of case management, which is just jargon for supporting young people. We call them youth advocates, because we really want to center young people as young people. They are not their experiences. They're experiencing tough stuff, but they're a whole person, and despite their experiences, and they can have a positive future. So we think language is really important here, and that's just one of the ways that we do that. Like you said, Scott, we are a nonprofit. We have to raise all of our funds every year. We don't sell a product or anything like that. We're really grateful. We have a couple of regular grants, governmental grants, which go a long way to helping deliver the services, and then other kind of either one-off grants or from the local foundations or wider kind of foundation network. But a significant proportion of our income does come from individual donations and corporate sponsorships. So we do a lot of work through the year just connecting with people. A lot of the corporate sponsorships kind of congregate around our fundraiser, which we'll talk about, I think, in a minute. And then individual donations. There's two kind of cool ways that people can help. One is by setting up like a monthly support, and then the kind of end of year or tax rebate or windfall kind of donations. We have a campaign on our social media going on at the moment. It's like $5 Friday, and it's just encouraging people just to set up small donations that are monthly and regular. It could be $5, or if people are able to give more, then it's more than that. Part of the reason why we're really focusing on that monthly kind of support just now, because it helps create stability through the year. It's often the end of the year where most of our income comes in, which creates kind of challenges of cash flow through the year. And so we're really focusing on hey, let's get lots of people doing small donations, and it's amazing how that just builds up over the course of the year and over time. There are lots of other ways as well. We do have a volunteer program. It's a very busy volunteer program. We're really grateful for a lot of support there. That helps with our after-school programming. The role of the volunteers there is to support the team, to support with activities around the facility, but most importantly, to just build relationships with those young people. We do have a bit of an ask of volunteers, which is to give one evening a week for a whole school semester. And that's just about building, like I said, connection. It's about building those relationships with the young people over time. We often also have one-off kind of needs, and often that's around helping us keep the facility clean, or painting, or other things like that. And so we would love to hear from civic groups, churches, groups of friends who think I could give a Saturday morning to come and clean the COVE's facility. We'd love to hear from you.
So that'd be a great type of team building opportunity for a church group, or maybe even a work group.
Yep.
to say we want to support the mission of the Cove.
Yeah, cleaning is such a ministry. Like it's so easily overlooked. We have a great facility, Methodist Children's Home made this available to us and help us take really good care of it in terms of like repairs and things like that. But we want our young people to come in and feel like it's kind of a home. Keeping it clean and tidy, is a really important ministry for us. And like you said, it's a smallish thing, but it's with a big impact.
But I'm thinking the environments that you've described where some of these students are living, very disorganized, not cared for, likely chaotic is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And then it comes here and it's ordered. And this helps with the vision that you have for the long term.
Yeah. There's that adage of, it takes a village. Running an organization like the Cove really does take a village. And so, other ways that people can get involved are things like when we have needs for refilling our hygiene closet or for our food pantry, through the year, we mainly push that out through our social media. And so, I'd encourage people to go and add us on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever it is. We use Amazon wish list for that. And, we just set up a wish list and then people can just buy a few items, 1 item or 10 items, or sometimes we've had people just buy the whole list for us, which is amazing. And then Amazon just delivers it to our door, which is super fun. But also we work with churches and other groups doing like donation drives and things like that. Just encourage people to get in touch first, because there are things that like we don't take clothes, for example. Usually we work with other partners to meet our clothing needs for our young people. We just don't have the space or the time really to sort clothes. We love hearing from people. Like if people care about or are interested in the mission, just reaching out to us via our website, via hello@thecovewaco.org. That's a great way just to connect with us and have a conversation.
Let's talk about the fundraiser.
Yes. It's October 3rd at the AC Hotel. It's 6 p.m. If people go to our website, there's a link right there on the front page with the ticket information and all of that sort of stuff.
So is this a gala dinner type thing? It's
a gala dinner thing, yeah. So we have...
Tell us what's coming up.
Okay, so it's a gala dinner. It's a executive chef, Carlos Martinez at the AC Hotel, preparing a dinner. We're doing the tasting in like 2 weeks' time.
And if anyone's been to one of the events at the AC Hotel...
Yeah.
The food is wonderful.
It really is. They do such a good job. And so last year we had salmon and we had short ribs and various other things. It was delicious. Lots of great compliments about it. So dinner's going to be great. And then in the evening, we're going to have Michael Hicks and the Classics doing a performance. He's performed at the Hippodrome, recently performed at the Ridgewood Country Club. Show tunes and classic hits. He is a performer, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll be having an auction as well. So we've live auction, silent auction.
So people can get involved, of course, buying tickets.
Yeah, tables.
Maybe
and
buy a table, get together with friends, maybe your church group, work group. Yep. What about donating auction items?
Yeah, so auction items, like we would love particularly experiences that people have and items or gift cards, just get in touch and let's have a conversation. Like we have some great live auction items, tickets for a Rangers game. Chef Carlos also, he did this last year, was he would come to somebody's house and do a dinner. And he'll bring all of the stuff and prepare the dinner in somebody's house and with matched drinks and all of that sort of stuff. And he actually ended up selling it twice last year. And I spoke to some of the people and that was a blast. There's going to be a mahjong party available, and we've got various gift cards for Opals and all kinds of places.
The auctions can be fun.
Yeah,
the silent auctions and the live auctions are a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because and I've seen this where bidding starts going for like this experience, the dinner for Chef Carlos to come, and then during the auction, Carlos gets up and says, I'll throw another one in.
Yeah.
Maybe the second place person is going to win as well.
Yeah.
And it just adds to the whole excitement of the event.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, last year we did really well. Like we blew our target out of the water, because of people's generosity, and that just makes such a big difference for us, as an organization. We try not to rely on one big bang, each year, but it really makes a big difference. And other things that if people have accommodation, like if somebody owns an apartment in New York and wants to donate it for a week or something like that, I'd love to speak to you about that. So things like that are really helpful for us. They can go really well in an auction, and they will really help drive our mission and fuel our mission.
So it's a fun night out, but
Great.
It is important work. And that's really what it comes down to. People say, well, what can we do? Well, we know what they can do. Come here and at least support the students and help change lives. And I've seen this in the past where those that are working with the students and see them on a regular basis and knows their background. But then when someone comes along and gives them the tutoring, gives them the tools that they need to have hope for the future, get involved with a work program, TSTC, McLennan Community College. There's a lot of good jobs in the area if the students know about it and they believe that they can be qualified.
Yeah, we have a student who was in yesterday who just graduated, and he's held down a job for a year now. Like, he started the job while he was finishing high school, but he's held the job down for the year. And he's saying to me, Tim, I've never held down something for this long. This is great. I was like, keep going. You're doing amazing. Like, keep going. And that's what we want. We want our young people to believe that they can do it. One of our other young people just got a job this week, and he's at that start of that journey of just like, okay, how do we help him hold it down? And I think, it is a stark figure, and, I would really encourage listeners to really explore the city. Waco has this strapline of a city to believe in. My hope and my vision is that, like, as a city, we really buy into that for the whole of Waco. And, I think supporting the COVE is one way of doing that, and I would love people to do that. But there's lots of other ways that young people can help our students and, learn about what's happening in our school districts, and speak to your counselor, speak to your representatives about the fact that you care about education in our community. If you're a parent in one of the school districts, join the PTA, join the campus decision-making council, ask the administrators in the school, like, what can you do to help? How can you encourage the teachers? They're doing hard, difficult work. And, I think as a community, like, we can make a big difference in these ways.
So the fundraiser is coming up on October 3rd. People can go to thecovewaco.org, get details on that, and buy tickets.
Yes, please. That would be great.
Dr. Tim Packer, thank you so much for the work that you're doing for our youth here in the community. And what an honor to be here with you today.
Well, thank you, Scott. And it's great to be able to share and have a conversation with you.
The WACO Experience, An American Story, is a production of D. Scott Smith Company, all rights reserved. Thank you for listening.